You're standing in your living room, heart pounding, as someone you care about delivers an ultimatum that cuts right through your soul. If you really loved me, you wouldn't do this, they say. Choose. It's either this opportunity that makes you happy or me. The words hang in the air like poison gas, and suddenly you can't breathe properly. You're being forced to choose between your own happiness and keeping someone in your life. Here's something that will shock you. According to relationship psychology research, the vast majority of people who receive emotional ultimatums from loved ones choose the other person over their own happiness. And here's the part that will really surprise you. Within 2 years, most of those relationships end anyway. You sacrifice your dreams to keep someone, and they leave you regardless. This moment reveals one of the most devastating patterns in human relationships. When someone makes you choose between them and your joy, between them and your growth, between them and your authentic self, they're not asking for your love. They're demanding your imprisonment. Let me share something with you that might shock you. In my decades of working with people from all walks of life, I've discovered that the relationships causing the most pain are rarely the ones where someone actively hurts you. The most destructive relationships are the ones where someone loves you conditionally, where your happiness becomes a threat to their sense of security. But here's what nobody tells you about these relationships. They follow a predictable pattern that most people never recognize until it's too late. Stay with me, because understanding this pattern could save you years of heartache. Healthy love expands. It celebrates your growth, encourages your dreams, and finds joy in your joy. Toxic love contracts. It fears your independence, resents your happiness when it doesn't include them, and makes your peace conditional on their comfort. Think about your own life for a moment. Is there someone who seems to have a problem every time you're genuinely happy? Someone who finds reasons to worry when you're excited? Someone who feels distant when you're thriving but draws closer when you're struggling? Let me tell you about Emma, a talented artist whose story will sound eerily familiar to many of you. She had been married to Marcus for 15 years, and by all external measures, they had a good relationship. Marcus was reliable, responsible, and rarely raised his voice. But Emma felt like she was slowly disappearing. Every time Emma mentioned wanting to return to painting, Marcus would find practical reasons why it wasn't a good idea. "We can't afford the art supplies right now." Or, "You're so busy with the kids already." Or, "Remember what happened last time you got obsessed with a hobby?" But here's where the story takes an unexpected turn that reveals the true nature of emotional manipulation. When Emma finally saved enough money for a weekend painting workshop, Marcus didn't forbid her to go. Instead, he became mysteriously ill that weekend. Nothing serious enough to go to the hospital, but sick enough that leaving him felt cruel and selfish. Emma canceled her workshop and spent the weekend taking care of Marcus, who recovered remarkably quickly once the workshop was over. What Marcus was doing wasn't conscious malice. It was unconscious control. He had learned early in life that his security depended on keeping others focused on his needs. Emma's happiness and independence triggered his deepest fears of abandonment and inadequacy. But here's the crucial point that most people miss. Marcus's fears, no matter how genuine, didn't give him the right to shrink Emma's world to match his comfort zone. His insecurity didn't justify making her choose between her authentic self and his approval. Now, some of you might be thinking, but don't we all need to compromise in relationships? Isn't some sacrifice normal? And you're absolutely right. But here's the difference that will change everything. There's a crucial distinction between healthy compromise and toxic sacrifice. Healthy compromise involves two people working together to find solutions that honor both of their needs. Toxic sacrifice involves one person repeatedly giving up essential parts of themselves to manage someone else's emotional reactions. Here's a test that reveals everything about your relationships. Healthy compromise is temporary and specific. I'll skip the Friday night art class for the next month while we navigate this busy season. Toxic sacrifice is permanent and global. I guess I'm just not an artist type anymore. Let me ask you something that might make you uncomfortable. When was the last time someone in your life celebrated your happiness without making it about them? When was the last time someone encouraged you to pursue something that brought you joy, even if it meant less time or attention for them? If you're struggling to answer that question, you might be surrounded by people who love you more as a function than as a person. They love what you do for them, how you make them feel, the role you play in their emotional ecosystem. This is particularly devastating in family systems, where one person has been designated as the caretaker. Your family has organized itself around your willingness to prioritize everyone else's comfort over your own authentic expression. Rachel discovered this when she decided to go back to school at age 45 to become a nurse. For 20 years, she had been the family problem solver. Every sibling called her with their dramas. Her parents relied on her to manage their conflicts. But watch what happened next. It's a pattern that psychological studies show occurs in the overwhelming majority of families when the caretaker tries to change. When Rachel enrolled in nursing school, her family's reaction was swift and calculated. Her sister started having panic attacks that required Rachel's immediate attention. Her parents began fighting more, each calling Rachel to mediate. Her teenage daughter suddenly developed academic problems that needed constant supervision. The message was clear. Rachel's happiness was disrupting the family system. Her growth was threatening their established roles. Her dreams were being framed as selfish abandonment of her responsibilities. But here's what Rachel discovered that shocked even me. When someone makes you choose between your growth and their comfort, they're not protecting the relationship. They're revealing that the relationship was never based on love for who you actually are. True love doesn't feel threatened by your happiness. Authentic connection doesn't require you to stay small to make someone else feel big. Genuine care doesn't demand that you sacrifice your dreams to prove your devotion. Here's an exercise that will reveal the truth about every relationship in your life. Watch what happens when you start honoring your authentic self around different people. Some will celebrate your growth and encourage your journey. Others will become anxious, critical, or distant. The people who react negatively to your positive changes are telling you something crucial about the nature of your relationship. They're revealing that they've been unconsciously using your limitations to manage their own insecurities. Alex experienced this revelation when his best friend Carlos started sabotaging his weight loss journey. Every time Alex made progress, Carlos would suggest they go out for pizza and beer. When Alex declined, Carlos would accuse him of thinking he's better than everyone else. But here's the twist that nobody saw coming, and it reveals the most important truth about manipulation. Alex knew that Carlos was struggling with his own weight and self-deceit issues. He understood that his success was triggering Carlos's shame. This knowledge made Alex feel guilty about continuing his healthy lifestyle changes. But then Alex learned something that changed everything. Compassion doesn't require you to stay sick to make someone else feel better about their sickness. Understanding someone's wounds doesn't obligate you to let them wound you. Having empathy for someone's limitations doesn't mean you have to accept those limitations for yourself. This is what I call loving detachment. It's the ability to maintain love and care for someone while detaching from their need to control your choices. You can love someone deeply while recognizing that the relationship dynamic is toxic for your immobility. But here's what happened to Alex that reveals the most shocking truth about manipulative people, and is something that changed my entire understanding of these relationships. When Alex finally held his boundary about his health journey, Carlos didn't just get angry. He did something that research shows most manipulative people do when their tactics stop working. Carlos started recruiting others. He complained to mutual friends about Alex becoming obsessed with fitness and acting superior. Carlos organized group outings specifically designed to pressure Alex. Pizza nights, bar crawls, events where Alex's healthy choices would make him the odd one out. When Alex still didn't budge, Carlos played his final card. He started questioning Alex's mental health to their friends, suggesting Alex's focus on wellness was unhealthy obsession. This is what psychologists call triangulation. When manipulators can't control you directly, they try to control your social environment. They turn your community against your growth because they can't tolerate being the only one left behind. Here's what Emma eventually discovered when she stopped allowing Marcus's anxiety to dictate her choices. And it completely contradicts what most relationship experts tell you about working through problems together. When she firmly but lovingly maintained her boundary about pursuing art, Marcus was forced to face his own fears and insecurities. Initially, his anxiety increased. He had more physical symptoms, more emotional outbursts, more attempts to make Emma feel guilty. But Emma held steady. She maintained her love and care for Marcus while refusing to sacrifice her joy to manage his fears. Something remarkable happened. Marcus was forced to develop his own emotional regulation skills. He had to learn to tolerate the anxiety of Emma having interests outside of him. Their relationship didn't just survive this transition, it became deeper and more authentic. Marcus learned to find genuine joy in Emma's happiness. Emma learned that she could maintain her authentic self while still loving someone deeply. But here's the part of the story that might surprise you, and it reveals something that could save you from making a devastating mistake that most people make. 3 years later, Emma discovered something that completely changed her perspective on their entire marriage. Marcus had been seeing a therapist during those difficult months when Emma was establishing her boundaries. In therapy, Marcus revealed that he had always resented Emma's artistic talent because it reminded him of his own abandoned dreams. Marcus had wanted to be a musician in college but gave it up under pressure from his parents. When he met Emma, her artistic nature initially attracted him, but over time, it became a painful reminder of what he had sacrificed. His support of their family's practical needs was actually his way of ensuring Emma couldn't achieve what he had given up. This revelation shattered Emma's understanding of their relationship. The man she thought was protecting their family from her impractical dreams was actually protecting himself from confronting his own abandoned aspirations. Here's what research in family psychology reveals about these dynamics, and it's something that will change how you see every relationship in your life. When one person in a relationship system starts growing, it forces everyone else to confront their own stagnation. The resistance you face isn't really about your choices. It's about other people's fears of examining their own unlived lives. Not all stories end this way. Sometimes when you stop allowing someone to make you choose between them and your happiness, you discover something that's even more shocking than their manipulation. Sometimes you discover that the person was never actually capable of loving the real you. They were only capable of loving the version of you that made them feel better about their own limitations. And here's the part that most people find hardest to accept. This isn't something that can be fixed with better communication or couples therapy. Rachel learned this the hard way, when her family's resistance to her nursing school dreams escalated beyond guilt trips and manipulation. When emotional manipulation didn't work, they tried financial sabotage. Her sister borrowed money from Rachel's education fund for an emergency. Her parents suddenly needed expensive home repairs that only Rachel could help with. But here's what happened. When Rachel refused to be derailed, is something that psychological research shows happens in most cases, but nobody talks about. Her family didn't just accept her boundaries and move on. They slowly started cutting her out of family events. Holiday invitations became forgotten. Family news was shared with everyone except Rachel. She was being systematically excluded from the family system she had spent 20 years serving. This is what psychologists call emotional exile. When family systems punish the person who refuses to play their assigned role. It's one of the most painful experiences a human can endure because it triggers our deepest survival fears about belonging and acceptance. But here's what Rachel discovered that saved her sanity and changed her entire understanding of family dynamics. The family that excludes you for growing wasn't actually a healthy family to begin with. Healthy families celebrate each member's growth and expansion. Dysfunctional families require certain members to stay small to maintain the illusion of stability. Rachel's exile revealed that her family's closeness was actually codependence. Their love was actually control. Their concern was actually fear of abandonment by the person who had been managing all their emotional needs. Nathan's story took an even more dramatic turn that reveals the ultimate truth about people who make you choose between them and your happiness. When Nathan's mother realized that guilt, manipulation, and emotional blackmail weren't going to stop his music career, she made a choice that shows the true nature of conditional love. She told him that if he pursued music instead of the stable career she wanted for him, she would no longer consider him her son. Nathan called her bluff. He pursued his music, and his mother kept her word. She changed her will, removed his photos from her house, and told relatives that she only had 2 children now instead of 3. Here's what happened next that will shock you and reveal the most important truth about setting boundaries with manipulative people. Nathan's music career flourished. Without the constant drain of managing his mother's anxiety and expectations, he had energy to dedicate to his passion. Within 3 years, he was touring nationally. Within 5 years, he had recorded 3 albums. But here's the part that even I didn't expect when I first heard this story. His mother's rejection actually freed his siblings to pursue their own dreams, too. Seeing Nathan survive and thrive after being disowned showed them that their mother's approval wasn't necessary for happiness. One brother left his corporate job to become a teacher. His sister divorced her husband, who had been financially controlling her for years. Nathan's willingness to lose his mother's love taught his entire family that love isn't worth having if it requires abandoning yourself. And this reveals something that most people never realize about manipulative relationships. When you refuse to be controlled, you don't just free yourself. You give everyone around you permission to break free from their own psychological prisons. The people who make you choose between them and your happiness are offering you a gift disguised as a threat. They're showing you exactly what kind of love they're capable of offering. They're revealing that their love has conditions that include your willingness to remain less than who you're capable of becoming. But here's the final revelation that will determine whether you break free from this pattern or remain trapped by it forever. The reason most people accept conditional love isn't because they don't know it's unhealthy. It's because they believe they don't deserve unconditional love. They believe that the love requiring their sacrifice is the best they can expect to receive. This belief was planted in childhood, when well-meaning adults taught you that love must be earned through compliance, performance, and putting others' needs before your own. You learned that your worth was conditional on your usefulness to others. But here's what I need you to understand with every fiber of your being. Unconditional love exists. There are people in this world who will celebrate your growth, encourage your dreams, and find joy in your happiness, even when it challenges them to examine their own lives. These people don't make you choose between them and your authentic self, because they understand that loving someone means wanting them to be fully alive, fully expressed, and fully themselves. Your willingness to walk away from conditional love creates space for unconditional love to enter your life. Your courage to disappoint people who need you to stay small attracts people who want you to expand and grow. The choice isn't between loneliness and conditional love. The choice is between settling for relationships that require your diminishment and creating space for relationships that celebrate your wholeness. Choose yourself. Choose your joy. Choose your growth. The people who are meant to be part of your journey will celebrate these choices. The ones who don't were never offering you love anyway. They were offering you a transaction disguised as affection. Your authentic self is not negotiable. Your happiness is not optional. Your growth is not selfish. Anyone who makes you choose between them and your joy is revealing that they love their comfort more than they love your freedom. And that, my friends, is not love at all.